Well, welcome everyone to the Ventura County Climate Emergency Council regular meeting scheduled today for Tuesday, March 21st, 2023 here. We are live coming from the Atlantic Conference Room at the Hall of Administration Main Plaza at the County of Ventura. And we are also broadcasting for those watching and listening remotely. So as we call the meeting to order, Heather, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Vice Chair White.
Here.
Councilmember Saeed, and if I say your name wrong, please correct me.
Yeah.
Chair Snow.
Here.
Councilmember DeTore.
Here.
Councilmember Wayne Rostro. Here. Councilmember Gorilla.
Here.
Keith?
We're with you this time. Girl, yes.
Gorilla. I was calling Councilmember Dora Gorilla, but I believe she's not here.
I'm here.
I'm sorry. You
You
can
can sit up here.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
this is for the
Okay.
committee. Come join us here.
Okay, thank you.
And Councilmember Keith Gorilla.
Present here.
Councilmember Para. And that is 8 of us, or the 8 of you.
All right, thank you. So we move on to item number 3, Pledge of Allegiance. And with Councilmember Wayne Rostro, will you do the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sorry.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 4, we have an oath of office for our new council members. So Heather, would you like to join us for that?
Yes, I should be joining us remotely.
Yes. Our executive board is joining. I gave you also.
So for those watching, we're just waiting for Mia Martinez to join us, the clerk of the board, to then lead our council members with the oath of office.
I put the message in.
Sorry, yes, having technical difficulties. Well, doing it in person, looks like.
Okay, hi, welcome.
Hi.
Should I just sit here?
Yes.
Yeah. So the camera's there, so if you stand about right here, the camera can catch you. Yeah, there you go. So you can sit there, and those that will be taking the oath of office, can you raise your hand there? So.
Okay, so if you guys can stand, raise your right hand. And then if you could please repeat after me. So I state your name,
I, Scott Foreign,
do solemnly affirm that I will support and defend
I do solemnly affirm that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the State of California
the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mia. Thank you. So let's move on to item number 5, the approval of the minutes from our February 21st, 2023 Climate Emergency Council meeting. So we'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes of the February 21, 2023 meeting.
Okay, is there a second? Okay. And then could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember, Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Councilmember Syed,
I wasn't there last time, so I'll stay.
Chair Munoz Snow,
Yes.
Councilmember Torre,
Aye.
Councilmember Wayne Rostro. Yes. Councilmember Dora Guerrilla,
Yes.
Councilmember Keith Gorola,
Yes.
and Councilmember Kara is absent.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on to item number 6, which is where we entertain public comments for items not on the agenda. And so for those of you that are here and wish to speak, you can just stand up, raise your hand. You have about 3 minutes. So we'll go first with the audience that's live, and then we'll go to those that are calling in. So is there any comment from those in the public today for items not on the agenda? All right, seeing none, then we'll go to the screen and see if there's anybody who is calling in remotely that would like to speak. And you could take yourself off of mute or raise your hand so we can see who would like to do that. And do we have a second screen of folks, or is that one there?
It should be everyone.
Yes,
Okay.
the right are just the apps.
All right, so seeing no one who'd like to speak from the public, let's move on to correspondence agenda, item number 7. And as you can see on our notes here, we don't have, or we didn't have any correspondence agenda this last month. So as we move on through to the regular agenda, we have item number 8. And this is the portion of the meeting where this body is going to be selecting at-large council members. We do have 2 seats open. And as you can see, we'll have a presentation of the at-large council members in order as presented in the agenda packet. So we might be going back and forth between those of you that are here live and those that are calling in. And so let's go ahead and start with that. And the list that I have here reflects that we're starting with Brendan William Callahan.
Okay, I have a statement from him.
Okay.
His wife had a baby this weekend, so he was not able to join us. I'm going to put my reading glasses on. And this is from Brendan Callahan. Hello, committee members and staff. Thank you for your time. My name is Brendan Callahan. I had hoped to be in front of you today, but I am eagerly awaiting the arrival of our first baby girl Callahan. I'm writing this on Friday afternoon, knowing my wife will be induced this weekend. Fingers crossed all goes well. A little bit about me. I'm a resident of Thousand Oaks, and I work on the east side of the county in Oak Park at Oak Park Unified School District as the Director of Bond Programs. He's Director of Bond Programs, Sustainability, Maintenance, and Operations. In my role, I oversee the bond program, which was passed by taxpayers and is a $60 million fund that is used to modernize facilities and construct new classrooms. Sustainability is also in my title, at Oak Park Unified School District. Oak Park Unified School District is the first green ribbon school in the U.S. We intentionally build for sustainability through sustainable design. We are the first school in the U.S. to use recycled shipping containers for classrooms. We've invested $7 million in solar panels district-wide. We have bioswales, a garden program, 100% LED lighting, drought-resistant landscape and irrigation, a robust recycling program with organic waste collection, EV car charging stations, and greenhouses. We are guided in what we do by the UN Sustainable Development Goals. We have put a tremendous amount of effort into sustainability, and we are making a concerted effort to incorporate environmental principles and concepts into the classroom and encouraging students to take on projects. When the Woolsey fire ripped through our community, we relied on our incident command system to respond to emergencies. In case of an emergency, I serve as the Chief Logistics and Facilities for our district. One thing I want you to know about me is that I'm a collaborator. As an undergrad, I founded a nonprofit that built classrooms in Tanzania for 10 years. On one project, I went to Tanzania and purchased and installed solar panels in 2 villages that never had electricity. More recently, in my role at Oak Park Unified School District, we partnered with the Ventura County Resource Conservation District to provide monarch butterfly habitats on our campuses, and we're in the process of planting native plants and milkweed. At the end of February, I partnered with the county to host a community cleanup day in Oak Park, which took place at Oak Park High School. We collected 14.11 tons of material in total, including 9.8 tons of recycling, 2.21 tons of metal, 2.1 tons of trash, as well as over 100 bicycles that were donated to a program that refurbishes and donates them to lower income families. It's also important that you know that I'm involved in the community. I'm a director with the Conejo Open Space Foundation, and I launched the organization's Environmental Studies Scholarship Program that awards scholarships to high school seniors in Ventura County. We are now in our 3rd cohort of students, and they can receive $1,000 per year of study. I currently serve on the Traffic and Transportation Advisory Commission for the City of Thousand Oaks, and prior to this, I served on the Community Funding Review Committee, which awards grants to local organizations, one of which was a grant for environmental enhancements throughout the city. Lastly, I was appointed by Assembly Member Jackie Irwin to serve as a local delegate. I'd like to make a quick statement about my why. I personally want to serve on the Climate Emergency Council because I'd like to be surrounded by like-minded leaders in our community. I can learn from you, and I believe I can pull from my experience to help the committee develop and recommend programmatic solutions to help our county be more sustainable and combat climate change. Additionally, I feel that I can be a bridge between this community and schools and the voices of students who are the future of this movement. I am confident that there are bright spots throughout the county, and we can identify them and spread them. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. So next, let's go on to Aaron Joseph Kreisberg.
Hey.
Aaron,
Good morning, everyone.
good morning.
Hi,
Yeah.
Oh, it's afternoon now, but,
Yeah. Would you like to
yeah, you
come
want me to kind
here?
of get
So,
in front of the,
yeah.
well,
There
I'll
you
talk, I guess I'll talk to you all. instead of it.
Go down that end if you want. Yeah, we
Sure.
can speak to everybody.
Yeah, that works.
Right. We got too far.
A few steps closer. Now I'm going.
There you go.
There you go.
I don't
That'll
need this.
work.
So good afternoon, I'm Aaron Kreisberg. My day job, I work for Channel Islands Restoration, a Santa Barbara-based nonprofit that does quite a bit of work in Ventura County also on their staff ecologist. So that's kind of what I do full-time, which is a pretty rewarding job that gets me outside sometimes. But yeah, I think about climate change quite a lot in my daily life and work. And similar to the previous applicant, I recently became a parent, so that certainly influences my thinking on this. It's not a 1 month or a 1 day old, it's a 10-month-old, but it does kind of influence what I think about in regards to that. And I live in Midtown Ventura, so down kind of Lemon Grove School, that area. My wife's family is actually from Ventura, so I got to marry into a Ventura family, and we kind of will be here for the long haul, I think. My in-laws live here, my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, and their kids. So we are really attached to Ventura County. My employer has done quite a lot of work locally in Santa Clara River, Los Padres National Forest, the Canada Open Space Conservation Agency. So how to restore areas that have weeds, that sort of thing. So biodiversity is kind of one of my main motivators. I've been a big birder at points. So I've been involved with both Santa Barbara and Ventura Audubon. Now that I was in Goleta for a stretch, and now that I'm back in Ventura, I'm gonna start volunteering again out at Ormond Beach with their beach naturalist program and get involved with their conservation committees. So as I said, biodiversity is kind of my big motivator, but on the same sense, thinking about how to help Ventura County work towards its climate action plan and the 2040 goals. That's one of those timelines that's kind of shifted in my head now. When you think about 2040, it's actually when my son will be 18. So it kind of changes my perspective on it quite a bit in some ways. And it can be a bit of a daunting thing, but at the same time, a hopeful thing. One thing I've done recently that I'll be finishing tomorrow actually is the UC Agricultural Natural Reserve Resources Division does the climate steward class. So I'm actually just about to finish that program through the Community Environmental Council up in Santa Barbara. So that was a rewarding program, and doing a capstone project actually looking at climate change and mitigation and adaptation at Ormond Beach. So thinking about that landscape, which I have volunteered for them in the past before I moved up to Goleta for a few years. So I spent a lot of time out there and thought about that side a lot. There's so many exciting issues to think about between Fort Winini, the Naval Base Ventura County, kind of sea level rise. So wrestling with those issues is something that like I said, it can be both daunting, but I think rewarding. So that's the main why, I suppose, for me, is thinking about how to help us work towards having a future that we can all feel comfortable with, and also what we can do in the short term to do what we can to shift that baseline. And yeah, definitely. IPCC report came out yesterday, and it's like, well, we can, or the summary, and we can still do some things. So mostly a hopeful idea for me. But I don't really have too much to add beyond that. So thank you for your consideration.
All right.
But it's not raining too much when we got here. Find out how it goes.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Next, we have R.L. Miller. Let's see. Okay. I think I'm not gonna stay there. Yeah, I'll just stay there. Okay. Thanks so much for listening, folks. My name is R.L. Miller. I've lived in Ventura County, I'm in East County in Oak Park for 30 years. And I've watched this county change as it is now the fastest growing county in the continent of the United States. And like too many other people in this room, I'm a wildfire survivor. I am a climate organizer and activist. That is my day job. I run a group called Climate Hotspot. Locally, I've been involved in issues such as the fighting against the Puente power plant, but most of my focus has been national at the federal level. And specifically, what I would do with this council is encourage you to think big. I worked for a year on the Inflation Reduction Act, and I was invited to the White House for the celebration of the bill. The bill has $369 billion in buckets. And I want to make sure that Ventura County gets its fair share. It has buckets for sea level rise work, which we need in Port Miami. It has buckets for heat adaptation work, which we need in Simi Valley. It has buckets for disadvantaged communities. It has buckets for local governments. It has buckets for community groups. It has buckets for individuals. That's the $7,500 tax credit for IAEV that you've heard about. Point is that I want Ventura County to get its fair share from that bill, and I know how to make it happen. If selected, I would make Ventura County a model of Inflation Reduction Act implementation.
Three specific areas where I think that this county is falling a little bit short so far. Number one, transit, and that needs to be viewed through an equity lens. Transit, right now, transportation is Ventura County's largest contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. Speaking personally, as I was in helping my very elderly mother navigate the transportation system and had a great deal of difficulty with it. We need to do a lot of work here. I would look hard at a just transition for oil workers. Ventura County is the third largest oil producing county in California. The second largest, Los Angeles, has already put out a plan to phase out fossil fuel production in Los Angeles County. We, on the other hand, just approved a bunch of new wells last month. The Board of Supervisors did. We are in a climate emergency. We need to act on it. And so I would look into a just transition for the hundreds of workers in Ventura County employed in the oil fields. Where will they, what will happen to them? How can we find them equally good paying jobs that they can raise families on? Finally, I would look at whether our pension funds are invested in the banks that are financing the climate crisis, or whether we are investing prudently with an eye towards the future and with an eye towards protecting our retirees. These are big issues, and what I would bring to this table, if selected, is number one, a unique skill set. Number two, a desire to a deep knowledge of the Inflation Reduction Act, and most importantly, a desire to bring home the benefits of that bill to Ventura County. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Next on the list is Meryl Berge, but she has been called in and wanted to remove her name from the list.
That is correct.
Okay, all right, so that's noted then. Next up, we have Andra Mabin Belknap. All right, so let's see, you are on mute and on camera, so go right
Hey,
ahead.
everyone. I'm sorry, I don't know where this background came from, but this is what it is. I'll just quickly give my statement. My name is Andra Belknap. I'm a longtime resident of the Ojai Valley. My professional experience centers around climate action, social justice, storytelling, and journalism. My first job was on former President Obama's first campaign for the presidency. That activism was inspired by my desire for climate action on a national level. From there, I was appointed to the US EPA, where I worked for former EPA Administrator Lisa P. Jackson. And while I'm proud of our accomplishments, I know that we did not live up to the challenge of that moment. Today, I believe strongly that climate action will occur from the bottom up with the leadership of communities like ours. As you all know, we live in the fastest warming region in the lower 48 states. We should be setting an example of equitable climate action for our state and our nation, and that's the perspective I would bring to this board. My political and governmental experience also includes work for U.S. Congresswoman Lauren Underwood. I worked as her communications director during her historic runs for Congress in 2018 and 2020 and helped shape her environmental platform. I've also worked as a local journalist in Ojai and today work as a freelance journalist and speechwriter. With my experience in government, politics, and writing, and a long dedication to climate action, I believe I can be an asset to this committee. I know that this work is hard, and frankly, it's shocking to me the degree to which our culture prioritizes short-term economic gain over long-term survival. That's the culture we need to fight against, and that's another perspective I would bring to this body. I also want to say that R.L. Miller would be a phenomenal asset to this board, and I support her candidacy. She's exactly right that we need to phase out fossil fuel extraction in our county, following the example of Los Angeles, and focus on winning IRA funding for our county. That is it. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much, Andra. Next, we have Newt Garkin, and Newt is here with us. And so, yeah, go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Knut Garkin, and I thank you all for this opportunity to explain why I wish to participate in the VCCEC member. Also, what I believe that I may be able to contribute as a participant. I'm truly grateful for the people I've known and experiences I've had in Ventura County that have guided and shaped my life. I attended Simi Valley High School in the early 60s and was blessed to have really excellent teachers, several of whom became lifelong friends. During the summers, I was employed in a student orange picking cruise, which traveled all over the county and occasionally afforded me contact with migrant workers, one of whom taught me how to use a clipper in each hand and other techniques to double the amount of oranges I could put in a box, and hence my pay. The Channel Islands beckoned me and my parents, and we built a 30-foot sailboat in our backyard. After finishing the boat and my graduation from UCSB, we lived on the boat in Channel Islands Harbor. I taught myself celestial navigation, and we learned the essential skills of blue water cruising in the local islands. Then we spent 3 years cruising the North and South Pacific. And there's not near enough time to talk about that. During the winter months here lately, I'm much reminded of how magical Ventura City appears from the ocean in the water in the winter, with its vibrantly green local hills behind which looms the brilliant snow-covered Topa Mountain. So I have a great desire to contribute however I can in the effort. Oops. I moved the family to Ventura City in 1985 and now have 3 adult children and 2 young grandchildren, all of whom live in this unique part of the world. So I have a great desire to contribute however I can in the effort to forestall and or mitigate the climate disruption emergency we all face, so that my children and grandchildren can live and enjoy this area throughout their full lives as much as I have throughout mine. I'll mention here that I've been a member of the Ventura City Climate Coalition for the past 2 years. And I was also out there fighting the fight for Measure A and B and was very disappointed when we lost. I'm concerned about how much money was spent on the other side for that. I feel that they usurped the Board of Supervisors. Frankly. I believe that what I can contribute is my insatiable curiosity regarding virtually any scientific or technological endeavor. In my sophomore year at UCSB, I was given a research task which alerted me to the multitude of scholarly peer-reviewed journals available in the library. After that revelation, I found myself spending hours in the stacks chasing down a particular line of interest or query that I had until I was satisfied that I understood the pertinent concepts and controversies. We are in an area of accelerating breakthroughs and developments in scientific fields and engineering practices, particularly with regard to fossil fuel-free generation and distribution of electric power. I believe strongly that with respect to members of any representative governing body and of any related advisory entity tasked to plan for the present and ongoing era of climate disruption, those members must stay abreast of current developments in relevant areas of science and technology, so as to be able to develop and defend proposals for the safest and most efficacious long-term solutions, even when said solutions may not be currently popular or politically favored. I believe that I can help in that effort, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Let's move on next to Jeffrey Lee Starkweather.
Is there Jeff on the line? If so, please raise your hand.
So we're checking online because Jeffrey's not with us in person. And we're reviewing to see if he is calling in. There is an iPhone there, but is two numbers here? We don't know if either one of them is Jeffrey.
Receive an RSVP.
And, okay. So, members, you do have his information then listed here in the packet. So then we'll just, should we move on?
So yes,
Yeah.
let's move on. We can come back if he comes on.
Okay. Jeffrey, if you're on, we'll catch you at the tail end of the list here. Let's go to Eric Kenneth Crow, and I believe, Eric, you are online. Great. Okay, super. Welcome. And I believe you're either on mute or there's a low volume. Yeah, we can't hear you. All right, so you are unmuted. But maybe there's something with this microphone.
Volume maybe down.
Could you put in the chat if he had a statement that if you could try either connecting again or send us his statement, we can read it.
So Eric, we are having technical difficulties. You are now off of mute, but we can't hear you. Can you hear us?
There we go.
Now we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, technology. I got my Bluetooth in here.
Okay.
All
Very
right.
good. Thanks.
Great. Thanks for having me. Good afternoon, guys. I'll start with a quick introduction of myself and review of my experience. My career started in Sacramento, where I worked in commercial construction as a project engineer. Around 2005, I traveled to Alaska for a few weeks of vacation and ended up staying for 5 years. I joke with the younger folks, you could do that in your 20s. Alaska was by far and still is one of the most beautiful places I've traveled to, and I just fell in love with the environment. I worked as an engineer on the North Slope of Alaska, Prudhoe Bay, which is inside the Arctic Circle. I worked 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off, which afforded me the opportunity to travel through portions of Europe, Middle East, and South America on my time off. These travel experiences and these different cultures definitely shaped my perspective on the environment and how to manage climate change here at home. From Alaska, I moved to Southern California, first to Long Beach, and then here to Ventura County in 2015. I've worked offshore California, I've worked gas storage, I've worked geothermal, and now my focus is on renewable natural gas projects. It's pretty cool and exciting, the technology and projects being built now in California to capture methane emissions from like dairy farms and landfills and processing that methane and putting it back into the pipeline and not letting it be flared off or released to the atmosphere like it's been done in the past. Climate change is real, and a great deal of it is human caused. No debate on that. The science has proven it. I wholeheartedly believe we need to take action now and start figuring out how to actively change our habits before these climate changes get any worse or irreversible. I think Ventura County has a very unique opportunity in defining where and how we manage climate change for the rest of the world. Our access to local oil and gas, land and infrastructure, the availability of sun for solar, the abundance of wind, and access to tides all make for what I think could be the foundation for Ventura County leading the way in energy sustainability and energy diversity. This committee's work is a great start in leading this change. I have over 15 years of engineering and project management skills I believe could help this committee implement action plans and advise to the Board of Supervisors. On a personal side, I'm an avid outdoorsman. I surf, mountain bike, kayak, and love hiking with my 3 small children. I'm fully vested in leaving my kids the healthiest planet we can. The engineer in me loves facts, data, different perspectives, and healthy debate. and the project manager in me loves to deliver results on time. So again, thanks for considering me for this committee position. Let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for having me here.
Okay, thank you, Eric.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have Bill Camarillo, and Bill is here in person.
Thank you. Yes,
Thank you.
excited to be here. Pleasure to see you all and meet some new faces. I'm Bill Camarillo, and I'm from Camarillo, and I grew up in Ventura County. I've lived here my whole life. And I'm the CEO of Agromin, a 30-year-old company that combats climate change every day. I spent 10 years in the Marines, got my MBA from the University of Redlands, so I am the leader of Agromin, and I have well over 200 employees throughout the state of California, and we are the largest organics waste diversion company in California. We serve about 200 cities and 15 counties, and we combat climate change every day. We divert over 1 million tons of organic waste from landfills today, and over the history of the company, we've diverted over 10 million tons of organic waste to reduce methane emissions from landfills into the atmosphere. That's the equivalent of reducing 5 million metric tons of CO2 out of the atmosphere, or the equivalent of over 12 million barrels of oil that we have offset by diverting organic waste. The diversion alone is not what's going to help us solve climate change. It's actually the drawdown that we need to do. So there's a lot of great programs that we're all working on with transportation, water, energy, and how we live our lives, but we, at the end of the day, are going to have to draw down CO2 from the atmosphere. Today, Agromin has developed new carbon farming projects through regenerative agriculture using compost and biochar to draw down CO2 out of the atmosphere. Mother Nature will fix itself. We may not like it, but it will fix itself. And our plant and trees and soils will draw down CO2 if we help them. Historically, well over centuries ago, there used to be 3 to 7% organic matter in the soil, of which nearly 50% of it was made up of carbon in our soils to feed the biology that helped us feed the plants and trees. Today, there's less than 1%. If we can move the needle back to 3% across our agricultural lands worldwide, it would draw down 1 trillion metric tons of CO2. California has taken the lead and has decided that we're going to do better when it adopted our climate change laws. Just last year, they passed 40 bills, which made us the most aggressive legislative body in the world on climate change. And Agromin is a leader in that space. We started a new project called the Van Vleck Ranch, which is 5,000 acres in Sacramento, a working land ranch, where we're taking all the organic waste from the city of Sacramento, county of Sacramento, and many other cities, composting it on the ranch where they have live animals. They've got beef cattle, and they've got, goats and lambs and everything else, along with us delivering compost into the rangelands to increase the growth of the grass and increase the carbon in the soil so that the plants and the animals and what we do to fix the soil all works together to draw down carbon. We're now learning how to monetize that carbon in the voluntary carbon markets by developing these carbon farming projects to be able to get companies that are in the tech world, oil world, to buy these carbon credits to help them become more carbon neutral across the world. And we can do that right here in California. We could be the carbon sink for the world. More importantly, I live in Ventura County. So I'm working with all the farmers in Ventura County to help them become part of this carbon farming network to draw down carbon out of the atmosphere. So it's going to take everyone and every idea, whether it has to do with energy we use, the transportation that we use, the way we manufacture, but at the end of the day, we've got to fix our soils. The solution is beneath our feet, and that's what Agromin is focused on. That's why I believe that I would be a great addition to this council, as I truly believe our farming partners in Ventura County could be a big solution for Ventura County to be the first carbon neutral county in the state of California. California says we'll be carbon neutral by 2045. How are they going to get there without doing some of these types of programs? So they are listening. Like you said, there's lots of funding available, not just as part of the Inflation Act, but in California. Tons of grants that we're helping farmers get today to be part of the Healthy Soils Project. Tons of grants through Cal Recycle to develop infrastructure to divert more organic waste from landfills. We currently manufacture renewable natural gas today at an anaerobic digester in Santa Barbara County, where we're taking all their food waste, turning it into natural gas and using it to create electricity that's renewable. So we're at the heart of it, and I truly believe in it, and I've been doing this for 30 years. It's a passion. My whole family works for the company and my friends, and we're growing pretty rapidly. So I'd be honored to be on this board. I am astounded by everybody who participated in this and all the talent that you have to choose from, and good luck to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see if Jeffrey is online. So Heather and team, did you see him come on to the,
There was nobody else admitted in
Conference.
the time.
okay.
I'll do a double check.
I emailed, I didn't get the answer.
All right. So then let's move on in the agenda. Then we'll open it up for public comments. And anyone here in the audience, if you have public comments for this section, you're more than welcome to share those comments. Seeing none, then we'll look to those on the screen. And so we do have Roseanne Witt. We see your hand up, so go right ahead. You're part of the public comments for this section. And you can take yourself off of mute.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to thank all the candidates. You have an impressive array of talent, which is going to make it harder to choose. I personally would recommend, encourage you to consider Brendan Callahan, who has extensive on-the-ground experience in a myriad ways of practically and effectively implementing sustainability measures, or Aaron Kreisberg, who is an actual ecological scientist and therefore understands the complex natural systems that we're dealing with, or R.L. Miller, who has expertise with the Inflation Reduction Act and can help Ventura County become a model of sustainability, or Andra Nelkap, because I think effective storytelling is going to be critical for effectively mobilizing community participation that's going to be necessary for effective action. I would urge you to reject the candidacies of Eric Crow, who is an employee of Southern California Gas, a fossil fuel corporation which has used ratepayer money to proactively obstruct climate action. And I would unfortunately ask you to reject Bill Camarillo, who is who leads the Agromin Corporation, which has significant economic ties to the county and presents an unacceptable conflict of interest. Thank you for considering my comments.
Okay, thank you, Roseanne. Is there anyone else that is online that would wish to speak during this time on the agenda? So if you'd like to speak, you can go ahead and raise your hand. And so we're just going through the screen here to see if anybody would like to speak.
Our mouse is a little delayed.
Yeah, that's okay. We're trying to get to the portion on the screen that allows us to see if anybody else is raising their hand. So is that David Gilbertson? So David, we see that your hand is raised. And if you could take yourself off of mute.
I have some video issues, so it may be better just to stop the video. Hey, thanks. My sincere thanks to the entire Ventura County Climate Emergency Council and all your public service, and to all the candidates for your interest in applying to serve your community. I would echo Roseanne Witt's comments. I think that it's very, very important that we address this critical concern we have, our crisis around the area of Ventura County. And I would quote a professor from Cal State Channel Islands who described our county as ground zero of climate change. And we need strong advocacy, very strong advocacy. And I want to ensure that all the effort that was put into Ventura County's 2040 general plan and climate action plan remains intact, and that we have representatives on the Climate Emergency Council who will fight to ensure that. Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, David. And anyone else from the public that is wishing to speak on this matter on the agenda? So we'll go through and see if there's anyone else online. Heather, I don't see anyone else that has raised their hand. No one else. Okay. All right. So then let's open it up for council member discussion as part of this item on the agenda. So any council members who would like to speak? Okay, go ahead, council member Corolla.
So I represent the community of Piru, which obviously is an underrepresented community. It's at the east end of the county, highly agriculture. The residents there, high percentage are employed in agriculture. And not that that is the main emphasis of my discussion here, but I know that Bill Camarillo has been involved with agricultural renewables for many, many years. I've read his bio. I have not talked to him personally, but I know his work through other organizations that I belong to. And I think that at least for the Santa Clara Valley and any of the other agricultural areas in the county, that I think Bill would be a true representative of what that community's needs are. I do have other opinions on not just agriculture, but everything else, sustainability and the other candidates. I think we have seen a lot of good candidates here in person and online, and I thank you all. Everybody has great ideas, but for myself, for representing the needs of Piru and the Santa Clara agricultural, I think Bill would be our best candidate for the area that I serve. And again, I think that with the emphasis on carbon reduction, Bill has shown a strong effort on that, not just here in the county, but statewide. I think that would be a great move for our county to bring Bill on board. Leadership.
Thank you, Councilmember Corolla. Any other comments from others on the council? Yes, Vice Chair White.
Yeah, oh boy, this is a tough decision because we have so many good candidates. I wish we had 5 or 6 openings on the council because there's so many good viewpoints here, people who could add to what the county needs to do. And as Aaron pointed out yesterday, the IPCC put out a new report, and you know, we have a lot more to do on this planet and here in Ventura County. And this council will be besides staff that has the biggest role, the council will have a strong voice in what gets recommended to the Board of Supervisors on how to address climate. I find it's tough to pick 2 people to vote for. I do know Aaron Kreisberg from Channel Islands Restoration, which I'm involved with, and he is a scientist. If you read his resume, he graduated from the prestigious Brand Environmental Group, as did Heather, UCSB. He's a scientist and a really good one at that. So one of my votes will be for Aaron. He lives right here in Ventura. I think would be a really good, strong voice on this council. I was very impressed with others. I can't deny it, but I have to say R.L. Miller working on the Inflation Reduction Act, which is the biggest federal, United States federal.
Biggest climate bill investments he's ever.
Yes, that really will move the United States and the planet towards solving this huge problem of global warming, climate change. And boy, I sure want to have that voice on this council. There are other voices I would love to have as well, but my votes will go for Aaron and R.L. Miller.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair. Any others who would like to speak? Yes, go ahead. Councilmember Dettori.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to voice my support for, I echo Mr. Garola's support of Mr. Camarillo. And I also support Mr. Crow, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. This council nor any council, our government does not operate in a vacuum. And I believe, even though there's the concern about Mr. Crow, who is with Southern California Gas, he also has seen the other side and understands the impact. And what I think both of them can bring to the board is the real world application of how things affect. We have the issue of fossil fuels. There is the hope to remove fossil fuels, from the pollution aspect, but let's be realistic. Look around this room, majority of stuff in this room is made from fossil fuels. So we need to keep things real in terms of what really, how the world's going to function. And I believe they can bring that aspect to it. We don't operate in a vacuum. We have to look at things from a realistic aspect. And I think they can bring that to this council. The business side of it, how it really, the other impact, that other aspect to it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember. Yes, go ahead, Councilmember.
So a couple of years ago, I had spoke on behalf of a couple prior committee members, Councilmember Chavez and Councilmember Baldwin. Councilmember Chavez was involved in the transportation industry, and Councilmember Baldwin was involved with air pollution control process. Where I'm going with this is I think they made significant contributions to this committee. I think that the reason I spoke in favor of them was to have diversity on this council. And not just, the way we look, but also our backgrounds. And I think those council members, because of that diversity, made this council kick off fairly well. With that being said, the agricultural portion, I think, is underrepresented. But when I agree with Councilmember Dettori that the energy field, I think, is not represented on this committee. I feel that Councilmember Crow has shown a leadership role in going to renewable energy. I think that everybody in the application process has the climate, obviously, as their best interest. And I think this board is very well represented by individuals who have that background. And I would like to say also that if all the applicants, I hope will remain engaged, whether they're elected or not, because it's that input to us, to the county, that's going to make this council move on. So therefore, I would throw my support towards the renewable energy individual, and that's Mr. Crow, in addition to Mr. Cameron.
Okay, all right, thank you, Councilmember. Any other comments at this time?
There is a comment in the chat.
Yes, so we do have a comment in the chat, and that is from Don Price.
He says, maybe staff should read the section of the bylaws that states the purpose of the council.
Thank you. All right, so we don't have any other comments from council members. Let's go on to the consideration for action and approval. And I just want to say that everyone who submitted their names as hopefully being chosen as at-large members, I appreciate your interest on this council. This council is brand new, so to speak. We were just set in motion just 2 years ago, 3 years ago with the County Board of Supervisors as they considered the climate emergency as part of their general plan and not a standalone plan, but incorporated within. And so there was a heavy lift these last couple of years, and we're well on our way to making some great strides in working together to put together what this county of Ventura is going to look like in the future, but also too with the staff that helps us move right along and the Board of Supervisors that then adopts what we recommend. So we really appreciate everyone's interest. I know each and every one of you could actually sit as one of the 2 members. And so your experiences and everything that you have to add to this board would really be incredible. So I applaud you for getting your nomination or your consideration in. And for those of you that are online as well that submitted your name, that goes for you in addition. So with that then, what we realized is that we would have an opportunity to seat 2 for the 2 slots that we have for at-large members. And as I spoke to Heather about this, we realized that the best thing we could do is actually go through our list of council members and ask for your vote. You get 2 votes, and Heather is then going to distribute something for each of you. That would then be the way you can vote, and you write your 2 votes in, or you choose from the list here, and then we get them back to her, and she would then tabulate the votes. Okay. So we also have the bylaws that we can have Heather read if you'd like. I know that each of the council members here present are knowledgeable about this. But if you wanted then to either have her read them again or have this copy be available to you. All right. Sam, okay. So we'll give you a minute or so to make your choices and get the list back to Heather.
The ballots.
The ballots, yes.
Here's one.
Thank you. Victor, here.
Okay. And I just want to make everybody aware that Councilmember Carter is going this, right? Yeah. Okay. Thank
I
you.
apologize for being late. I live out in Old Town, Santa Clara, and I keep feeling like I have to emphasize Old Town because it's not part of the city of Ventura. So the flooding there is so bad. Like we had FEMA come out about a week and a half ago and assess damage to our house and our alleyways. And since it has been established as a city, Santa Clara is actually was a Shemesh village, Satvikoi. The alleyways have never been paved and we can't find anybody to pave. So we have like a couple feet wide potholes in the alley. You cannot drive it. They're like pools now.
Well,
So
thank
it's
you.
pretty bad out there.
Thank you for making it out today.
And while we wait, did any of the new council members want to introduce themselves?
Yeah, so as Victor then tallies that, let's go to then our newer council members to see if there's anything that you'd like to say about yourself. So I know Councilmember Gwen Rose, I believe you joined us last meeting and you talked about what you had done in the background in order to get to this council, correct? Yeah, yeah. No, so you had spoken last time, right? So
Yes.
then the other two that were sworn in today, would you like to? Councilmember Said, go ahead.
Yes, yeah, I am Rashid Syed, so I represent our district two. Therefore, appointed me to this position. So I have clearly talked more about climate issues in last 3 weeks than ever before in my life. Obviously, I really care about it. My kids have grown up in Thousand Oaks. Now I'm just 6 months old. I have a grandson, so clearly climate is very important. Obviously, I'm here to think about long term, and I've heard all the people who want to be on this council who will be here. Wow, what amazing! You clearly have thought more about this than I have, but I'm here to learn, and I haven't spoken much because I'm really still trying to catch up on what to do. I know it needs to be done, but what to do is I'm not sure. So I'm obviously going to be more of a listener and as I go as I go forward. So I am a professor at CSUN. I teach organic chemistry. I'm not an environmental scientist, but I do have a scientific background. The reason I moved to this area from San Diego back in '94 to be a scientist at Amgen. And then I left that about 14 years ago. And I've been teaching ever since that season. So that's my background.
Okay, thank you. And Councilmember Varela.
Hi, my name is Laura Jimenez, and I'm actually representing District 3, Night and also El Rio. I'm actually a program coordinator for preschool. I was a teacher there and I'm a program leader, which I do a lot of resources for families and their needs and for the children as well. I do a lot of community service too. Besides that, I advocate a lot for that. And right now, we're part of the Lions Club with John. And we're actually gonna have cleaning the beach on the 23rd next month. So I'm promoting that right now in the Mandalay. We'll be there on, if anybody wants to go, 2 hours. We'll be there on the 23rd. We'll be cleaning the beach. So I'm having the school Real District. I work with the Real District. So we're having the Real District to participate with kids in a family event for community to help.
All right, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so Victor handed to me those that earned the ballots, and these are the 2 slots, right?
Yes.
So the 2 slots, Eric Crow and Bill Camarillo. All right, so welcome, congratulations.
Exciting.
Yeah, and
I'd like to talk to you.
and you know, for all of the rest of you, you have just incredible talent and experience, and I would recommend that you continue to engage with this body and council members, and you know, applaud you again for submitting your names. You each individually can serve and serve well on this council, and at this time, then we will then have the 2 join us and continue forward as we move this climate emergency into the future. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I would just second that. Please stay involved. You know, we need all the help we can get. Please pay attention to what's going on here. And thanks for showing up.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. So then let's go ahead and move on to Chair. Yes.
We would need a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, a motion for. So I'll entertain a motion for the results here of Eric Crow and Bill Camarillo.
Awesome.
Okay, so motion has been moved by Councilmember Corolla. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Vice Chair White has seconded it. And Heather, can we have the roll call, please?
Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Councilmember Syed,
Aye.
Chair Munoz,
Aye.
Councilmember Ventura,
Aye.
Councilmember Wayne Rushel, Councilmember Dora Gurula,
Purella, right?
Yeah, I,
Councilmember Keith Gurula,
Aye.
Councilmember Hara.
Okay, so motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, so now we can move on then to item number 9, which is receiving an update on the 2023 in-person meeting survey. That survey was conducted online. So Heather?
Real quick, at the next meeting, we'll do the oath of office and we'll have your meeting. And we'll add another people.
Thank you.
So we had our meetings, in-person meeting survey, and thank you for all that responded. The results of the poll concluded that a 2-hour monthly meeting starting at noon at the Ventura Government Center was feasible for most of the VCCEC members. Round 1 respondent noted that quarterly meetings work better with their schedule, and another respondent commented that their attendance is dependent on the meeting time. And 2 respondents suggested adding a remote meeting location in Thousand Oaks. And so we are investigating a remote meeting location in Thousand Oaks, just working out some logistics. Per the Brown Act, we will need a majority or a quorum of the council members to meet in person at one location. So at the main location. So we would just need to make sure that if there's 10 people attending, at least 6 of them are at the main location. Anyone have comments or questions or want to provide input?
Yes.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I looked at the meeting dates. Unfortunately, September meeting onwards, those 4 dates, Tuesdays don't work for me. So, I mean, I can go ahead and have it, but I won't be able to attend.
thank you.
Thank you for showing up.
If it's moved to Wednesday, that works better, starting in September. I'm okay up to August, no problem. But starting in September, October, November, December, I think. So that's my comment.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Yes, go ahead.
Just a question then. If we're not able to attend in person, but we can remotely, we have that accommodation.
We have to set up the remote locations ahead of the meeting notice. So as long as the majority are in this location, then we could set up meeting locations. However, it's just a lot of the places that I've inquired about require a staff person there and sometimes IT equipment. So it's a little bit of logistics just because we're a small staff. So if there are suggestions for remote locations and potential, we'd have to figure out how someone can help with the Zoom meeting.
So where I'm going with the Heather is if the majority of us could meet here, but 1 or 2 of us had to meet from home or vacation location, we could call in on Zoom and participate.
Per the Brown Act, and this is where I would defer to our county council so I can bring back questions. There is 2 potential, if you are on vacation or you have an emergency, there's a just cause and an emergency criteria too that you could meet. And I believe if you can only use that for 20% of the meetings, and then the emergency council would have to vote to approve the just cause or emergency meeting locations. It would not be open to the public. And then I believe if there's anyone over, it's a weird rule, if there's anyone over the age of 18, their presence would need to be noted. I could get county council to provide a better summary of what I just said.
Thank you.
I know that when I served on the city council for Port Hueneme, if anybody was remote, they actually had to be noticed on the agenda.
Correct.
The address and the time frame, and then there was something that had to be posted on the outside of the door. So if any of the public who wanted to attend from that space could attend, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So if we were to have a remote location in say Thousand Oaks, that would be agendize, people would post the agenda. There would be areas for the members of the public to join in. For the two instances I just mentioned, the just cause and the emergency, that would not be open to the public. But again, I would want county council to provide a little better summary than what I just provided.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm just gonna say it back to make sure I understand it. The bottom line is, the most significant factor, if I understand correctly, is as long as we have a majority here, there are workarounds available.
Correct.
Okay.
If the majority of the council is at the main meeting location, we can have a remote meeting location or a couple remote meeting locations. The concern is just for the remote meeting locations that are kind of established. We would just need to think about logistics of staffing.
Okay.
And then there's, in case of emergency or if a just cause, that we would present to our county council for their feedback. And then the VCCEC would have to approve, is my understanding, that just cause or emergency.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah, just ask for clarification. So to get it right, so basically what I'm understanding is that as long as the majority of council members are present, either here or remote location, if anybody trying to join from home or office can do so, but would they be allowed to then vote on issue as per Brown Act? I mean, like, can they act as normal participant in a normal meeting?
So for the just cause or emergency, that you have to meet specific criteria. And so that it's very strict.
Oh, I see.
So we could set up a remote meeting location that's established that multiple council members attend at. So we could set something up in Thousand Oaks, but the majority of the council would have to meet at the main meeting location. If there is like an emergency, or I'd have to refresh my the criteria for just cause. So those are kind of just special instances that something came up, you have an illness, or you're having issues with childcare, or taking care of a sick family member. I believe that was some of the criteria.
So having advance notice doesn't count. I mean, something like in my scenario where I know I'm not going to be absent that would not.
Right, that would not. So I can ask our county council to provide a summary that I can distribute to the emergency council.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Oh, I skipped, okay, any other questions for staff from council members? And so we'll open it up to the public then for public comments. Anybody here in person with public comments at this time for this agenda item? Or anyone online? So you can raise your hand if you're online to speak. And we are on the item number 9.
No raised hands.
No raised hands from the public who's online. Okay, very good. So council members discussion then. Does this sound reasonable? There's some more information coming from Heather that identifies them just cause in the emergency situation. But does everyone then understand what we'll be doing here? So the majority have said, move forward with the monthly meetings, the Tuesdays, and we meet on a Tuesday that the supervisors do not meet on, correct? So we don't get bumped that often, but certainly it's something that we can calendar. And 12 to 2 is the meeting time that we've set aside from our past meeting schedule. And so that moving forward is what we're looking at as well. And then I would say that for, when we arrive at like say mid calendar year, is we can review then perhaps a different kind of schedule to make sure that Councilmember Syed, is that how you pronounce it? Syed would be able then to join us. And so we might possibly then look at another day because Tuesday doesn't work for them. Does that sound reasonable to everybody?
I just have a
Yes.
comment.
Yes,
And
go
just,
ahead.
Just on, Tuesday, and I know there's no problem, I know it was 12 to 1 originally, but if, for instance, just like I said, I work at a school, right? I sometimes need to be there by 2 because I need to do, get as a teacher for coverage or anything at 2. Would it be okay if I were able to leave at 1:30? Would that be a problem? It's not gonna be probably just maybe one day, they will need coverage.
It is not a problem with me.
Okay, okay. If that was just it.
So then the only thing would be is that, whatever is on the calendar that we haven't gotten to at 1:30, then you would be missing from then the discussion and the vote.
Okay.
All right, so that was just a discussion. We don't have to vote on anything, but it was just really coming back to you with the results of the poll as well as then just general overview and questions. All right, okay, thank you. Let's move on to then item number 10, which is receiving an update from the County Executive Office staff. So go ahead.
Yes, we provided an update in your agenda packet, but I'm going to introduce Morel. I believe most of you have already met her, and she's going to give some updates on our outreach events.
Thank you, Heather. Good afternoon, council members and public. I'm Morel Vargas from the CEO Sustainability Division, one of Heather's coworkers. Here to mention just a few updates of what we've been up to. So I mentioned at our last meeting that we are partnering with Ventura County Library on a Sustainability California Libraries grant. We're having 3 branch libraries become Green Business Certified, and for hosting a series of presentations on sustainable living practices. Due to the rain, we had previously meetings, presentations scheduled for this week and last week. We have rescheduled them to start next week and to run through end of May. And they will be held in the Saticoy, Cairo, and Albert Solis libraries in El Rio for anyone in Ventura County to join. Presentations will be on electric vehicles, home weatherization, the green business certification process, and the DIY home energy and induction cooktop kits. And in those locations, they will also be getting water conservation kits that we are creating. Yes, and then here we have the kits for you all to view. These are available at any county library to rent out, as well as other libraries in city locations, such as Blanchard Library in Santa Paula. I think it's as well. And that toolkit, as you see, has a pan and an induction stove. Mobile cooktop that you can just plug in yourself. You get to see what type of pans you have that actually would work in induction cooktops, which in this case would be a magnetic connection. So anything with a magnet top, bottom, that would be conductive for this. Victor's showing you our DIY home energy savings kit that has things such as LED lights, weather stripping material, as well as other tools for you to see how much energy consumption you're using at your home and recommendations for you to lower your energy consumption.
It's like our toolkits, so we want
Yeah.
I think everyone knows they're available.
Along with that, we are celebrating Earth Day and Drive Electric Earth Day in April by having various community events. County staff will be at the City of Thousand Oaks Earth Day on Saturday, April 15th. We will also be at City of Oxnard Plaza Parks Farmers Market on Thursday, April 20th. And at City of Fillmore's Earth Day on Saturday, April 22nd. And we have also donated raffle prizes to Ventura Earth Day EcoFest held at the Ventura Charter Schools campus. The following month, Division will be celebrating National Bike Month with Cycle Mania, an emphasis on the May. In supporting CAT program, PFSF trip reduction of county staff, Division staff will be hosting welcome stations at various county employee buildings to encourage and educate employees on alternative transportations and encourage them to reduce their trip emissions. Cycle Mania will conclude with a mini expo open to the public on Wednesday, May 31st, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., where we will have bike vendors, e-bikes to drive test, and presentations on bike safety and bike tune-ups, and a food vendor. And with that, hand it off to Victor. Oh, my God.
I'll just give one more update. And yeah, this will be our first cycle media event, but in the fall, we do an EV ride and drive event for National Drive Electric Week. And it's always fun and a big hit. And for National Drive Electric Week, we have in the past had e-bikes there. And it's been a fun little adventure with all the staff and members of the public riding the bikes around campus. Last year, there was even some racing going on with some of our upper management staff. And we also, I just wanted to note, we have an EV coach, and that is someone, it's a contract worker with the sustainability division, and they are available for any questions. If you're a member of the public, if you're another agency, if you're a business, if you have any questions about electric vehicles, I can share the contact with EV coach because they're available here. All things electrified transportation related and even charging station infrastructure. If you have questions about installing charging stations or incentives, rebates, etc. And all of our outreach is in English and in Spanish. So, okay, so the next on the list is a climate resilient Ventura County campaign. And I'll just go over a brief update about this, but if we're interested in getting a presentation on the Right Action platform, we can come back next month and present on that. It'll take about 10 minutes. But the Climate Resilient VC campaign is part of the Resilient Central Coast campaign, which showcases the landing page of 12 Central Coast cities and counties. And we're all partnering to achieve measurable progress toward reducing greenhouse gas emissions from our home energy use, transportation, food choices, and waste. The campaign utilizes an online organizing platform called Right Action, and it's to engage micro community leaders. And examples of that are neighborhood groups, church groups, Girl Scout groups, civic clubs, universities, schools. And the campaign has resources to provide bilingual training, marketing materials, and other resources to encourage these micro community leaders to use their social networks to achieve building greenhouse gas emission reductions and increase resiliency. The campaign is hosting monthly community workshops that are online. And the next workshop, there's a flyer for it, but it's called Creating Climate Resilience Through Shifting Your Ride. And this will be on March today from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. tonight. So if you want to sign up, there's information in your packet. And then next I'm going to hand it over to Victor.
Hey everybody, I'm Victor Briones. I'm newer here with the sustainability team. I've been here about a month now, but I'm just going to give you a quick update on, or a summary on Assembly Bill 1346, and then also a summary of something that's coming with the Ventura County Air Pollution Control District. So Assembly Bill 1346 was passed on October 9th, 2021, and this bill requires the California Air Resource Board to adopt cost-effective and technologically feasible regulations to prohibit engine exhaust and evaporative emissions from new small off-road equipment, or SOAR for short, and have the regulations apply for engines produced on or after January 1st of 2024. And SOAR is comprised mainly of lawn and garden equipment. And they contribute to the pollutants of nitrogen oxides, reactive organic gases, and particulate matter. And then, so the intent of AB 1346 is to protect public health from the harmful effects of emissions from SOAR equipment and to help achieve the governor's goal of 100% zero emissions from off-road equipment in California by 2035. So AB 1346 also requires CARB, or Air Resource Board, to provide funding for commercial rebates and incentives to local air pollution control districts and air quality management districts to support the transition of zero emission SOARs. And so AB 1346 affects the County of Ventura's landscape equipment inventory, and that the county will now purchase new electric SOAR and will retire existing gas powered SOAR as it ages out. And so something to come that Ventura County Air Pollution Control District is working on is a lawn and garden electrification funding program. So CARB has allocated funding to assist in the transition of zero emission SOAR through funding avenues like the Carl Moyer program. Ventura County Air Pollution Control District has been awarded Carl Moyer program funding to implement a lawn and garden electrification program. And they're developing the scope of work for this program, or currently developing the scope of work for the program. Concurrently, CARB is also finalizing updates to the lawn and garden equipment replacement guidelines. So thus, VCCEC is proposed to launch their program later this year once those updates have been finalized. But the program will work with vouchers, and so it'll cover eligible costs, project costs, which will include the equipment, chargers, and batteries, as well as backup chargers and extra batteries for each piece of equipment purchased. Vouchers will only be available for commercial applicants or projects, and eligible entities include sole proprietors, small to large businesses, municipalities, schools and school districts, and more. And so the commercial product, and then the proposed voucher maximum amounts are as follows. For chainsaws, trimmers, brush cutters, it's $700 maximum voucher amount. For leaf blowers and vacuums, it's $1,400. For walk behind and robotic lawn mowers, it's $1,500, and ride on or sit stand mowers, the maximum is going to be $15,000.
And then,
Sorry.
do you have anything else?
That was it on my end.
Okay, I'll just add, last month we, in the VCCEC agenda packet, we had some updates on the proposed actions by the council. We wanted to, one, give you the opportunity to ask any questions. I also wanted to note that please save the date for June 1st. I believe we are trying to schedule a planning commission hearing. During that date, I'll have more information about a time. And that'll be for the two VCCEC proposals that have not been presented to the planning commission. And as you recall, the first step, the proposals go to the planning commission, they make recommendations, and then it will go to the board of supervisors. So we started that process of getting it on the agenda, and we are finishing up our collection of data for the lawn and garden, our landscape equipment inventory. And so that'll be presented at the next meeting also. We weren't sure how much time we were going to have on this meeting. So please, any questions from the updates that we provided last month? Or any questions?
Are there any questions from the council? Okay,
I would just like to make a comment on the last thing that Heather mentioned. You know, this council has made some recommendations to the board. A couple of them have gotten there, and Heather mentioned June 1st.
Yes.
June 1st, the planning commission will be hearing two of the recommendations that the council made in August. We recommended that the board of supervisors adopt a policy to electrify county buildings and other facilities, to electrify them to reduce natural gas and propane emissions. Where feasible, and I say where feasible, there may be some places that would be tough to do. So that was August. and October. We voted to recommend a new program in the sustainability division that would broaden what they're already doing on electrification of buildings, residences, and non-commercial, or excuse me, non-residential buildings. 3C REN is a program that Sustainability Division already has that helps people electrify their residences. They presently don't have anything that affects non-residential buildings. So that was a recommendation we made in October, and it's frustrating. It takes so long to get to the board that that's what's happening. June 1st is the next step to the planning commission, and then that will go on to the board shortly thereafter, I presume. I think it's important for all of us council members to recognize that we are being asked to make recommendations to the board. So each one of us should be thinking about what do we recommend that the board do, and Bill, now that you're a part of this, if you have some specific recommendation that the county of Ventura should be doing by board action, this is the forum to present that. And encourage each and every one of us to do that. Come forward with your best ideas for what the county ought to be doing. Mentioned earlier in the meeting, the United Nations IPCC yesterday put out their new updated report that says we got a long way to go to solve the climate problem in the planet. And we're here in Ventura County poised to make recommendations. We need to do that. So please come forward with your best ideas. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other comments from the council on this item? Yes.
On
Councilmember
Victor's
Burrow.
presentation, can you ensure that website on the grant funding for the electrification and gardening tools, whatever, be in the minutes?
Yeah, so that program isn't yet ready, but it'll be on the Ventura County Air Pollution Control District's website. It's it'll run concurrently with their Carl Moyer program. So once that information is available, I'll make sure that you have it.
Excellent, thank you.
As a follow-up to that, it's really exciting that there would be then rebates available. When we post the information, will it be in Spanish as well?
I believe they'll be working to doing that. The CARB is already implementing another program for small business sole proprietors as well, and they had contracted with AGZA, which is American Green Zone Alliance, and Univision to do outreach in English and Spanish. So I'm sure the Air District will hopefully take advantage of those resources and aim to have resources in Spanish as well.
Great, thank you. All right, so let's hear from the public on this. If there are any public comments on item number 10 with the update from county staff. So anybody here in this meeting space? Saying none. Online, do we have anyone who'd like to speak on this matter? So you can raise your hand if you'd like. Don't see anyone who would like to speak. That is online.
No raised hands.
No one, no raised hands. Okay. So going once, going twice. Any other comments from the council? Yes, Councilmember Para.
I just wanted to echo part of what Mr. White was saying, that we also have to remember that we're trying to do our best here, but there's a lot going on within our community about talking about buildings. So there's issues with water. There's also issue with agricultural lands, because they are voting, even though there are protections that they want to take some of these agricultural lands to make them into homes. So there's all different sections, but it all comes full circle back to what are we doing to save, our water. It has rained a lot, but that again won't last us forever. And we're on schedule to have one of the hottest summers we've ever had in Ventura County. So I think there's a lot of things we need to look out, even besides what we have here as a whole, and bring these ideas, because I've been attending different meetings and I'm a little bit terrified at some people don't live here, or they have ideas of things that it's just not going to be sustainable for our community. We're outgrowing, we're outbuilding and outgrowing our space, and we soon will not have a space to live in. So I think it's really important to remember all of that. It all comes full circle.
Thank you for your comments. One other thing too is that with any of these dates that might work on your calendar, I'd suggest that you make it a point to join the group that's out there doing, whether it's Cyclemania events or things in Thousand Oaks, or in your communities, maybe it's at your library. And so that gives us an opportunity to meet more people in our community, but also then work hand in glove with the sustainability division and everything that they're doing to make sure that there's awareness as well as education. Yeah. Very good. So then let's move on to item number 11. Council member comments and future agenda items. We've reserved 10 minutes on the agenda for this item. And so we'll start with public comment. So any members of the public who wish to speak on this item? Seeing none here in the audience, then we'll go to those online, and you can raise your hand if you'd like to speak about item number 11. All right, seeing no hands raised there, let's go into then council member discussions. So anyone wishing to speak at this time? No? All right. Well,
I'll speak.
okay, go ahead. Vice Chair White.
You know, having worked on the planning commission for 4 years in the development of the 2040 general plan and the climate action plan that is part of that. The conclusion was, when this was presented to the Board of Supervisors, was that while there are many things being done by the feds and by the state of California and within the climate action plan approved by the Board of Supervisors, the projections are still that there are not sufficient greenhouse gas emission reductions to achieve the targets that have been established internationally, in the United States, in the state of California, and here in Ventura County, that there's still a gap of emission reductions or carbon sequestration reductions that Bill was talking about that need to be made. And I'm just concerned that we don't have a strong leader in the county to pull this together for how Ventura County is going to reduce carbon emissions or CO2 in the atmosphere to achieve the goals that we need to achieve to meet what's being recommended for solving the climate crisis. So I think that's a subject that we need to talk about going down the road. I know at our last meeting, a previous meeting, I had asked, what are other counties doing, other jurisdictions doing on climate action? I'm sure that we can learn a lot from what other jurisdictions are doing. I think that's important to invite some of them, or some of the jurisdictions that are well ahead of Ventura County, to come meet with us and explain what they're doing differently than what we're doing here in Ventura County. I think that moving forward for us is the most important thing to do. There is a strong climate action plan that's been adopted by the board in 2020, and implementing all of those policies and programs will go a long way to improve our to decrease our contribution to the problem. But there's a long ways to go, and I think that while there's a lot of good stuff already in the climate action plan and what others are doing, we need to do more. And I think that's one of the most important things that this council should be doing going down the road.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councilmember Sagan.
I know I was just reading bylaws, and I'm trying to still understand this council. Clearly, we are here to basically climate action plan, what climate change is doing to us and all that. So I know as council member noted about, we had so much rain, and all of a sudden 2 years from now we'll have a drought or whatever, we never know, right? So I was just curious. I mean, I know we have talked a lot about greenhouse reduction, which is clearly important, but what about who is responsible? And this is more for my knowledge purposes in terms of, is there any way to capture all this water? I mean, LA County does a very better job. Ventura County has no, absolutely, I don't see anywhere water is basically all going to ocean, right? Is there anything long term, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years from now to capture this water? I would love to hear about that. And it's more for my own knowledge because I totally get it, this greenhouse emission. And I mean, I've heard a lot of good ideas. I would like to obviously support and work on water capture for future generations.
I know they're looking at spaces. They looked at under Sadaquoi Park because it has to be stored underground. And it's just, part of the problem is the infrastructure that was done, 100 years ago. We have to have enough space underground, and it's not going to interrupt with the sewage ways or the pipes that they exist now. So the way that that park was done previously is just not going to fit, even what they consider to be small. So they're looking at other areas, but they're just having difficulty finding a piece of land that is going to fit underground and to hold the amount that they want to hold. So they, I can't remember the name of the department. They came out and did a presentation in Sadaquoi just last month. So they do have a plan. They do have things together, just finding the space in the area. So what they have showed sounds really, really good, really great if we can get that, but we're still not quite there yet.
So this comes under some other council jurisdiction?
It was the county that came out.
Yeah, and so at this point, because the item isn't on the agenda, we can't really go into deliberation or discussion, but it's a good point, and we'll take it back through the staff to see if there's information that could be brought up. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that that's part of like how this body then works. One thing too is that we were pulled together to look at reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and specifically for 27 of the items in the plan that don't have really some quantified lanes for us to work in. So that's, in a nutshell, that's why we're here. We can look at everything, but those are the priority areas for us as we move forward. Yeah. Heather, do you have any comments or questions?
We will circle back to talk about water capture and what's happening in the county. And there's actually one of the groups, I believe it's a community-based organization, is hosting a climate action plan roundtable discussion, and we are going to participate. And so if we hear anything that's really great and innovative or seems interesting to bring back to the council, we can see if they would like to present to the council. So.
Okay, very good. Any other comments at this point, or anything else that could be on a future agenda that you'd like to bring up? So, and we did open it up for comments to the public. So then what I have is we are at item number 12, which is adjournment, and our next meeting is scheduled for April 18th at noon here in the same place at the Hall of Administration, the same meeting space here, the Atlanta Conference Room, and that starts at 12 noon. So meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
Such a good meeting.
Yes.
She's a pro.
Yeah, exactly.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Looking forward to working with you.